about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. Well, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dali 1877 DOCDALI. So, being Gen X, one of my favorite music artists is Billy Joel. I mean, I could probably sing almost every one of his songs by heart. Icon for, you know, when you see these stars that can span multiple generations and people love their music. And where, he was, in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the O's, the teens, and still in concert. There's very few of these iconic artists that can span multiple generations. Cher, Elton John, Mariah Carey, it blows my mind, the amount of talent. So there's been some sad news. Apparently, Billy Joel has had to cancel all his shows due to being diagnosed with normal pressure hydrocephalus. Normal pressure hydrocephalus is a brain disorder we're going to talk about in a second. He's only 76 years old, but sadly, this extra pressure or this pressurizing condition of the brain can affect their hearing, their balance, their vision, and it's very, very rare. So he, went to I guess this is breaking news, so we don't have a lot of details, but from what we understand, his condition was exacerbated by recent concert performances. He had issues with his balance, his vision, and hearing. Now he's undergoing physical therapy and has been advised to refrain from performing during this recovery period. According to a statement, he said Billy is thankful for his excellent care he's receiving and is fully committed to prioritizing his health. He said he's really sorry to disappoint the audience. Thank you for understanding. So basically, cerebral spinal fluid, hydrocephalus is hydrocephalus fluid in the brain. So it builds up. And oftentimes could be reversible. You could do shunts, you could do medications. And so it could affect much of your abilities like memory and concentration, etc. But sadly, it could look a lot like dementia. This is why whenever somebody has memory lapses or issues like we, saw with President Biden or, the first thing we do is an MRI of the brain. Because we want to look for fluid, we want to look for a mass, we want to look for atrophy. And so this can get picked up very quickly if somebody is starting to have dementia symptoms and we do a scan. According to NIH, the Cleveland Clinic, it's more common in people over 65. The average age are those who are 70. And it's rare. I think it affects only 0.2% of people between the age 70 and 80. We will see a higher incidence in those over 80. They say 5.9% of people over 80. So this affects about 8.4 million people over the age of 80 worldwide. But it's rare in those under 65. And so the CSF, cerebral spinal fluid, lubricates and brings nutrients to the brain. You can't have things dry. Organs have to be kept moist. And the cerebral spinal fluid is a dynamic entity. Some people try to call it an organ, and it's just because we're humbled by what it can do. But it provides nutrients to the brain. It removes the waste products. And adults usually have about 5 fluid ounces. So it's not like, a whole bunch. However, your body creates it, circulates it, reabsorbs it. But in some individuals, it increases. A big thing about the CSF fluid is it's also a cushion. So when you hit your head or you get a concussion, that brain will have a counter-coup movement where it could hit the skull and then the back of it hits the back of the skull. But the fluid provides shock absorption. If your brain just hit the side of your skull, you'll bleed and then you'll get a brain bleed. So the CSF fluid is an amazing, amazing cushion. And so if your body starts to struggle in maintaining the amounts, circulating it, reabsorbing it correctly, there is then fluid buildup. And eventually the fluid buildup can cause pressure inside the skull. But overall, the pressure, the intracranial pressure, it doesn't rise in normal pressure hydrocephalus as opposed to others, but it can increase. And then once you do have the fluid going to other areas as pressure pushes it into more of the ventricles, etc., it could then affect the brain and cause permanent brain damage. So when you see somebody with this, they may have something called Hakim's triad, where they have issues with their walking, urinary incontinence, cognitive difficulties. Now, I know some of you had asked me, they go, has President Biden been checked for what, Billy Joel appears to have? Again, if they do an MRI of the brain, they could pick up on this. You do spinal taps to check the cerebral spinal fluid for evidence of, Alzheimer's, evidence of cancer, evidence of meningitis. Cerebral spinal fluid taps through a spinal tap could also, help us. But we want to be really, really careful when we check for the pressure. Sometimes people with meningitis can have an increase in pressure. You have to be very careful sometimes when you do a tap because you don't want to herniate, cause a suction with the lack of pressure. So it's very delicate, and it isn't, even though it appears to be, pretty common plumbing and fluid dynamics. The neuroscientists and the neurosurgeons, these guys are experts in this. So some people that have this may have issues lifting their feet. Their steps may be short and steady. People will think they have Parkinsonism, but that could be because they're walking short and unsteady because of their balance. They may freeze or walk uncertainly. They may rotate their toes outward. They may lack bladder control. And then cognitive difficulties is a biggie, where they seem to have mental or physical slowness, memory problems, erectile dysfunction. Not erectile dysfunction. Actually, that can happen with the urinary issues, but also executive dysfunction. So I know we didn't have a lot of time to go into it deeply. I pray for Billy Joel. I hope he'll be able to recover. There are treatments for this, and we'll keep you guys posted. 1-877-Doc-Daliah. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So I find it ridiculous how people are trying to criticize RFK Jr. and his assessment, wanting to make our children healthy again as part of the Make America Healthy Again movement. And people are trying to find fault with it, but they can't. So you hear these doctors, on these liberal media sites going, well, some of the core information is not wrong, but are their methods better than maybe addressing air pollution or climate change? People are trying to find something wrong with this when it actually makes sense. So to review, we spoke about this in the first hour, the 4 pillars of this assessment. It's about a 70-page report that RFK Jr. released yesterday, is looking at what is driving the obesity, the mental health crisis, the chronic diseases. At least 40% of kids in the United States have at least one chronic disease. These are kids, supposed to be our healthiest. One is their poor diet. Their diet is predominantly ultra processed foods, or what I call fake food. And they assess 70% of these kids' diet is coming from this, probably even more. If they're eating sugary cereals, if they're eating, candy, junk food, fast food, and they aren't getting home-cooked meals, and they're skipping the school lunch, yeah, probably, I think RFK Jr. is correct. Another is the aggregation of environmental chemicals. They say children are exposed to an increasing number of synthetic chemicals, many of which have been linked to developmental issues, chronic disease. So we need to evaluate that, make sure, 1, these aren't accumulating, 2, they aren't interacting with each other, and 3, how to minimize these kids from getting them. Lack of physical activity and chronic stress, he also cited. These kids they're screen use, they're sitting home in the air conditioning or in the heat. I told you we need to redo PE years ago. I said physical education shouldn't be about badminton and flag football. They should be learning also how to do, how to lift weights, how to use a gym, how to hike, how to navigate trails. And it shouldn't just be 3 days a week for 1 hour. These kids should be, while they're in English class, let's say they're reciting a poem or they're reading something out loud, rather than walking outside. We're going to walk around the school building while we read Longfellow. And this is something that they, can be incorporated so there's more exercise. Over medicalization, this is a biggie. Finally, we have an administration that wants to look at why are we having so many kids on medications. Now, I can understand if they have diabetes, they need insulin. If they have asthma, they need inhalers. If they have cancer, chronic disease, I get that. But we have a lot of these kids on medications. I am blown away at how the average kid that I get, a parent calling in on telemedicine for something is already on 2 or 3 medications, and they're only 8. I'm like, what's going on here? And so the Make America Healthy movement, and then the MOCA, the Make Our Children Healthy Again, is looking at this. And they're looking at the life expectancy. They're looking at how we can't recruit people for the military because these kids are not in good shape. They won't be able to take care of themselves. If you think we have a diabetes problem now and an obesity problem now, wait till Gen Alpha, gets middle age. Or already, look at how we're seeing cancer in 20-some-year-olds. I'm seeing people in their 20s have high blood pressure, have diabetes. How could we do this? He cites childhood cancer risk has risen over 40% since 1975. Autoimmune disorders are rising. Eczema, food allergy, celiac disease, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's. we've been speaking about this for years. When I grew up, I didn't know anybody with a peanut allergy, and we ate Skippy peanut butter or Peter Pan peanut butter all day long. Now we have to have airplanes and schools and facilities completely revamp what they're doing because somebody could get exposed to a peanut and die. How did we do this? How did we prime our immune system to do this? They say 1 in 4 American children suffers from allergies, including seasonal allergies, eczema, and food allergies, which means that person is limited. That person has to always watch what they eat. They can't be, doing their, can't be out in the wilderness, whatever. We don't know what they're allergic to. We don't know what they're going to react to. Between 1997 and 2018, childhood food allergy prevalence rose 88%. Celiac disease, where you are intolerant or you do not tolerate gluten, and gluten is a protein in wheat. That has increased 5-fold in American children, probably because of the crap that we're eating. So what is driving this increase in childhood chronic disease? The food, their lack of exercise, chemicals. They say children are particularly vulnerable to chemicals during critical stages of development in utero, infancy, early childhood, and puberty. Research suggests that for some chemicals, this cumulative load of exposures may be driving higher rates of chronic childhood disease. Now, the pesticides, microplastics, dioxins that have been found in the blood and urine of American children and pregnant women, this is concerning. Now, RFK Jr. cited these studies. So when you look at this, the studies are cited because he knew that, obviously the media is going to be trying to rip it to pieces. But my water bottle right now, it's a plastic. It's hot outside. If I accidentally leave my water bottle in the car, I got to throw it out because that plastic is going to leach even more into my water. And how do I know the water I'm drinking wasn't on a truck that was heated or out in the sun? So, they say there are 40,000 chemicals registered for use in the United States. That's a lot of different chemicals, whether they eat it, drink it, breathe it. Are we studying this? Our pervasive technology use, he addressed. Teens average 9 hours of non-school screen time each day. 9 hours a day on screens. Over 70% of children, 85% of teens fail to meet the 2024 federal guideline of 60 minutes of daily moderate to vigorous physical activity. 85% of teenagers are not exercising 60 minutes a day. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to walk to school. You're supposed to walk to the store, walk to your friend's house. You're supposed to be at the gym. You're supposed to be playing. Persistent sadness and hopelessness among U.S. high school students surged from 2011 to 2021, from 28% to 42%. Female student suicidal ideation rose 58%, from 19% to 30%. We have a rise in people that don't date, aren't in relationships, don't even plan on being in relationships. And we scared the hell out of people because now they think that they're going to be accused of assault if they touch somebody or date somebody. I don't want anybody assaulting anybody else. Nobody should be grabbing a butt or boob like I had to endure. But we went so far that now people are afraid to date because they don't want 5 or 10 years from now somebody say, you know what? I never wanted to sleep with you. You're like, well, you were the one that jumped on me. You were the one that when did this all happen? And so people are frightened and they are becoming more isolated. People also don't want to become canceled. They don't want to say something like, oh, okay, it's about time. RFK's doing this. And then all of a sudden they're branded, MAGA, racist, whatever. The stimulant prescriptions for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is something that many people have been concerned about. That increased 250% from 2006 to 2016, even though there was evidence that said that it does not improve outcomes long term. Antidepressant prescription rates increased 1,400% from 1987 to 2014. Antipsychotic prescriptions increased 800% from 1993 to 2009. Why do we have so many children that need antipsychotics? This has got to be looked at. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCLI. So we have a little bit of breaking news. A judge has temporarily blocked Trump's ban on Harvard enrolling international students. So a federal judge has temporarily blocked this move that happened yesterday. Harvard University sued the Trump administration, alleging that their ban was a blatant violation of the First Amendment, the Due Process Clause, and the Administrative Procedure Act. U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs granted a temporary restraining order and set a hearing for Tuesday morning. Now, the Trump administration said on Tuesday the school lost its ability to use the Student and Exchange Visitor Program, which allows for non-citizens to study at the university under a specific visa, because it had not complied with demands sent last month to supply information on student visa holders. So as a result, they said, of your refusal to comply with multiple requests to provide the Department of Homeland Security pertinent information while perpetuating an unsafe campus environment that is hostile to Jewish students, promotes pro-Hamas sympathies, and employs racist, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, you have lost the privilege. This is according to Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, wrote in a letter to the university. Now, Harvard President Alan Gerber pushed back, said the government has claimed that its destructive action is based on Harvard's failure to comply with requests for information to the Department of Homeland Security. They said Harvard did respond to the department's requests as required by law. Now, again, it's he said, she said here. In its complaint, Harvard said there was no lawful justification for canceling the status. The school accused the administration of waging an unprecedented and retaliatory attack because the university supports policies the administration doesn't like. This back and forth, is it's interesting. As somebody who really was disgusted by seeing these protests and seeing the Harvard president and these other presidents of universities fail to condemn the anti-Semitism, I commend Trump for showing a stand. I don't understand, though, the laws about what they could legally do as it pertains to enrollment. But in terms of withholding federal funds, I think it's in their legal purview. Now, according to Harvard said the government has casually discarded core First Amendment protections, the protections of procedural due process, and DHS's own regulations to immediate and devastating effect for Harvard and its community. Harvard's more than 7,000 F1 and J1 visa holders and their dependents have become pawns in the government's escalating campaign of retaliation. So Trump threatened the school's tax-exempt status and is withholding billions of federal funding after the school refused to comply with their demands regarding campus policies, governance, anti-Semitism, appropriate actions to stop it, and use of DEI on campus. So, and again, the DEI has been controversial because the Constitution says you are not allowed to discriminate based on race, creed, color. So if there's a policy saying no white person should apply, or we are not going to look at somebody who's white or male, or that is then discriminatory. And so schools have to. You cannot discriminate based on race, gender, creed, any of those. And so if a policy, like there's been schools where, remember, there were 2 white students sitting there studying, and they got kicked out. It was on campus, and they were not allowed because it was supposed to be a safe space for non-white students or minority students, even though whites were the minority on that campus. So it's confusing to people. And so just nobody discriminate against anybody. Give everybody access to safe spaces. Don't let there be anti-propaganda, anti-Jewish, anti-black, anti-LGBTQ, anti-anything propaganda that is preventing people from going to class, studying a class. You could have an area for free speech that will not interfere with with traffic and being able to go in and out of class. The university could very easily handle this. But the latest poll by ABC News, Washington Post, and this is being reported by ABC News, says most Americans took Harvard's side in the conflict. Now, this is an ABC Washington Post poll. They say 32% of respondents sided with the Trump administration. The poll was conducted before they told Harvard to stop admitting international students temporarily. So, you guys might be following this more, but if we do have a student who is visiting, and apparently they have 7,000. So when Americans want to go to Harvard, they are, competing against international students. But, international students, they come in, they study. If they're good citizens, they're not interfering with other students learning. If they're following the local laws, we have a temporary home for them here. That's why we have visas. But I got to tell you, every time I get a visa or I get entry into another country, I have to follow their laws by a T. And if I at all disrupt or mess around with any of their citizens, I get kicked out of the country. So if you do have somebody promoting violence, intervening with American students trying to study and go to class, then you lose your right to be here. There was, I think, a faculty member that had to pee on themselves because the crowd wouldn't let them go to the bathroom. Are you kidding me? And, that's not effective. We talked about the effectiveness of protests and how protests become riots. If you want to make a change, you be logical, you be calm. Look to what Martin Luther King Jr. did. He came up with peaceful ways to protest. Now, we are going to boycott. We're not going to buy your products. We're not going, none of this, we're going to impede somebody from trying to go to class because they are of Jewish faith. These are, it's, I don't understand. We have multiple different ways for people to express what they want to express because we have the First Amendment, but none of it involves pushing, shoving. Somebody couldn't get back to their phone and their belongings because of the barricade that these students made on class. You need your car keys. You need to be able to get home. That's illegal. That's obstruction. If you're committing any of those acts, now you're violating the law. And if you're here on a visa, you follow the law to a T. or you get kicked out. That's what happens in other countries. So, according to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she wrote to Harvard in April requesting information to be given regarding student visa holders' known illegal activity, violent activity, threats to students or faculty, disciplinary actions being taken. And so, I guess this is what Harvard wants to fight. It's a beautiful campus. MIT was a beautiful campus. Boston U, beautiful campuses. Talked to a lot of students. They're really, really nice. They don't want this drama. They don't want to be associated. The last thing they want is to have a diploma that is marred as an anti-Semitic, racist university. And if the university wants to maintain their good name, they have people be in the free speech area, avoid traffic areas where people are trying to get to class. Don't let any student, if one student feels they are hurt or discriminated or prevented from learning, that school steps in immediately. These are common sense issues. 1-877 Dr. Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Product claims without proof.
every trucker on the road has heard product claims about an additive that simply didn't match their experience. Proof is found from third-party testing by a recognized, credible source. That's proof. Hotshot Secret's Stiction Eliminator will improve your performance and fuel economy. For proof, we engaged the Ohio State University Center of Automotive Research to conduct an EPA-certified fuel economy test with Stiction Eliminator on a FedEx truck, a 2006 P500 Freightliner with 247,000 miles. The test showed a 3.6% increase in highway driving fuel economy from Stiction Eliminator, an oil additive. The complete report from OSU is available for download at hotshotsecret.com. That's proof.
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator, available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So, for 4 years, I have been asked what sort of medicine was President Biden's doctors practicing? Is there a different type? Do DOs practice differently than MDs? No, there's a standard of care. We all practice the same. We're trained very similarly. And, if somebody is, having any sort of issues with pain, we may image, check for metastatic disease and cancer or arthritis. If somebody's having memory loss, check their brain for atrophy, signs of dementia, stroke, mass, metastasis. These are things that we commonly do. And so for years, people have been asking me about what the doctor is thinking? What is Joe Biden's doctor thinking? And aren't they in trouble and aren't they going to be accused of malpractice or negligence if they don't do the standard of care? And I can't answer that question in terms of what were they doing or what they were thinking, because all we got from this White House is he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. And when somebody says, yeah, but Dr. Daliah, come on, if you're the doctor for the president, you're going to do what he says. No. Okay. Your commander-in-chief is the commander-in-chief of the military. But your commander-in-chief cannot rewrite medicine. If you have to abide by your medical board's state licensing requirements to do no harm, to not be negligent, to do proper record keeping, I mean, a president cannot say, wait a second, don't take away his license. Maybe they could behind closed doors, but the president cannot oversee, doesn't have that purview. Okay, medicine is a whole different system. And so, if you're like, well, he's my superior, I have to do what the president says. Well, not as it pertains to medicine. If the president says, I want you to burr hole my skull without anesthesia, a doctor can't do that. They'll lose their license. So the questions of, what were the doctors doing? And the reason why, people say, Dr. Daliah, come on, Biden's out of office. He's got cancer now. Let him, which I agree in terms of he needs privacy and he needs to get better. But people say, why are people bringing this up? Why are they now going to be subpoenaing the doctors? Because the American public is watching this going, whoa. If advanced stage prostate cancer can go to the bones in 100 days from him having full physicals and being told he had a clean bill of health to him now having Gleason 9 prostate cancer, all of our knowledge and expectations about slow growing prostate cancer or metastatic prostate cancer is now out the window. I mean, people are coming to me going, wait a second. If cancer comes on that quickly, why am I waiting for another PSA? Why is the USPSTF saying you don't have to screen past 70? Look at Biden. So somebody needs to clarify things. Now, I understand there's also the big issue of the cover-up. Were we lied to? Americans don't like to be lied to. They want transparency. One of the reasons why Trump is doing so well is, his cabinet meetings are out there. He's talking to the public all the time. He's showing the executive orders. He's, the camera is always on him and what he's doing. But with Biden, it was, where is he? Where is he? And so people didn't like that. And now with this auto pen, who was using his auto pen? If he had metastatic disease while in office, or if he had cognitive decline in office, who was running the country? I asked this for 4 years. Respectfully, but I asked it. Is it Jill Biden running things? Who's telling him he can't speak to reporters? Who's running things? Because we need to know who's running things. Is that person still in existence? What? We don't want our political figures puppets. Joe Biden is a man. He's a grandpa. Well, no matter what you think of him, he deserves the right medical care, and he deserves there to be the truth about what his abilities are. And he should have stepped down long ago to take care of himself. Now he's going to be struggling with metastatic disease, prostate cancer. Had to have been really stressful. People even thought that, his wife was committing elder abuse, forcing him to still be on the trail. I don't want to go there, but, the man needs to, get himself taken care of. And I'm on the side of a patient. But, the American public now are asking me, wait a second, if they're saying, look, Biden was fine. He left office the epitome of health. We didn't lie. He was able to run for office 4 more years and live those 4 years out. Now you have the public going, well, wait a second. Are we going to now rewrite the guidelines for prostate cancer? If memory lapses is part of a very highly acumen, astute commander-in-chief, then I don't have to worry about my mom or grandma or grandpa, because if Biden could run for office, then I guess I don't have to worry about them accidentally mistaking their medications or wandering in the street. Now, the average American is smarter than that. They're like, we were lied to. This is BS. Biden had something wrong with him. Let's not look at what the Biden administration did as a barometer for proper health management. But the more they say, the more they come up with these lies, people are confused. And if this is coming from the administration, then the USPSTF, even though it's under now the Trump administration, may have to rethink their guidelines. If really what happened to Biden is he went from 0 to 90, where he had a normal PSA, and because remember, science evolves. Was it COVID? Was it the COVID vaccine? Was it all the food he was eating? Was it radiation? Was it Air Force One? Where you could have a completely normal PSA and then all of a sudden get a nodule and it turned metastatic. If that is now the new way prostate cancer, I mean, you could have aggressive forms of prostate cancer, but nothing that fast. But if that is really what happened, is that is the truth, we need to rechange how we address prostate cancer. So Senator or Chairman Comer is demanding testimony now from Biden's doctor. They are asking Dr. Kevin O'Connor, Neera Tanden, who is former director of Domestic Policy Council, Anthony Bernal, former assistant to the president, senior advisor to the First Lady, Annie Tomasini, former assistant to the president and deputy chief of staff, and Ashley Williams, former special assistant to the president and deputy director of Oval Office operations. And they are asking for them to testify as to what the hell was going on. I don't want to see, these witch hunts, and I don't want to see, people, beating a dead horse, shall we say, over something that happened in the past. But we need to have better standards. Our commander-in-chief deserves the most comprehensive exam. And if there are concerns about his mentation and his mind, MRIs be included. Why didn't we do an MRI? Or did you do an MRI? Were you told to not say anything? Were you told to violate the Hippocratic Oath? These are things we need to know, because the future doctor of the president better not be doing that. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.